Bread is something many of us eat every single day. Toast at breakfast, sandwiches at lunch, maybe a slice with dinner. But what many people don't realize is that as we get older, the way our body responds to certain foods, including bread, can start to change. After 60, digestion, metabolism, and blood sugar balance may work a little differently than they used to. That means the type of bread you eat regularly might influence how full you feel, your energy levels, and even your overall diet quality. The challenge is that grocery store shelves are filled with labels like whole grain, multigrain, and gluten-free, and it's not always easy to tell which options are actually better choices. Before we get into it, I'd love to hear from you. What type of bread do you usually eat the most? Let me know in the comments, because some breads may be very different nutritionally than they appear. And one detail most people overlook might surprise you. It's something many people don't really think about until later in life. The foods you've eaten comfortably for decades can start to feel different. A breakfast that once kept you energized all morning might suddenly leave you feeling sluggish. A sandwich that used to feel light and satisfying might now sit heavier than it used to. And one of the most common foods people notice this with is something incredibly simple: bread. For many families, bread has always been a daily staple. Toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, maybe a slice alongside soup or dinner in the evening. It feels familiar, comforting, and almost automatic. But as the body ages, digestion, metabolism, and even blood sugar balance may shift in ways that change how everyday foods affect energy and overall well-being. After the age of 60, the digestive system may work a little more slowly than it once did. Muscle mass and metabolic activity can gradually change, and the body's response to carbohydrates can become less predictable. This doesn't mean bread suddenly becomes something to avoid. Far from it. But it does mean that the type of bread someone eats regularly can make a noticeable difference in how they feel throughout the day. Many people notice this shift without quite understanding why. They might feel hungry again soon after eating, experience small energy dips in the afternoon, or find that certain breads feel heavier than others. These subtle signals are often the body's way of responding to differences in ingredients, fiber content, and how quickly those carbohydrates are digested. The interesting part is that not all breads are the same, even though they often look very similar sitting side by side on a grocery store shelf. Some breads are made from refined flour that has been heavily processed. Others are built from whole grains that still contain the natural fiber and nutrients originally present in the grain. And a few types of bread involve traditional preparation methods that have been around for centuries. One example that has gained growing attention in recent years is sprouted grain bread. Unlike many conventional breads made from milled flour alone, sprouted grain bread begins with whole grains that have started the natural germination process. During this early stage of growth, certain enzymes become active in the grain. Nutrition researchers often point out that this germination process may slightly change the way nutrients are structured inside the grain. Some studies suggest it may influence the availability of vitamins and minerals, while also affecting how the body digests the carbohydrates in the bread. For many people, sprouted grain breads have a denser texture and a slightly nutty flavor compared with softer commercial loaves. They're often made from a mixture of grains such as wheat, barley, lentils, or millet that have been sprouted before baking. Because the grains remain intact rather than being heavily refined, these breads typically contain more fiber and naturally occurring nutrients. Fiber, of course, plays an important role in digestive health and can help people feel satisfied longer after eating. Another type of bread that has attracted increasing interest, especially as conversations about gut health continue to grow, is traditional sourdough bread. Unlike many modern breads that rely primarily on commercial yeast, sourdough uses a natural fermentation process involving wild yeast and beneficial bacteria. This fermentation process develops slowly over time, often giving sourdough its distinctive flavor and slightly tangy aroma. During fermentation, the microorganisms interact with the carbohydrates and proteins in the dough. Some researchers suggest this process may influence how the bread is digested once it's eaten. In certain cases, fermentation can break down components of the grain that might otherwise be harder for some people to digest. This doesn't mean sourdough is automatically better for everyone, but it does illustrate how traditional food preparation methods can change the nutritional characteristics of a familiar food. The broader conversation around gut health has also highlighted the importance of dietary fiber, something many adults consume less of than recommended. Fiber helps support normal digestion and contributes to the feeling of fullness that keeps people from constantly searching for their next snack. That's one reason nutrition experts often discuss breads made with whole grains and seeds. Rye bread, for example, has long been popular in many European diets and is often naturally higher in fiber than many common wheat breads. Similarly, breads that contain whole grains along with seeds such as sunflower, flax, or sesame may offer additional texture and nutrient variety. Seeds naturally contain small amounts of healthy fats, plant compounds, and fiber that can contribute to a more balanced food profile. For people who enjoy bread regularly, choosing varieties that contain intact grains and seeds may help create meals that feel more satisfying and nutritionally balanced. Of course, the conversation about bread would not be complete without addressing the type that still dominates supermarket shelves in many parts of the world: refined white bread. White bread is typically made from flour that has had much of the grain's outer layers removed during processing. Those layers are where a significant portion of the fiber and natural nutrients are originally found. Without those components, refined bread can be digested more quickly by the body. That faster digestion can sometimes lead to quicker rises and drops in blood sugar levels, which some people notice as shorter periods of fullness after eating. Again, this doesn't mean white bread needs to completely disappear from someone's diet. Many foods can fit into a balanced eating pattern, but understanding how refined grains differ from whole grains can help people make choices that align with their personal preferences and nutritional goals. There's also another category of bread that quietly blurs the line between everyday food and dessert: sweetbreads and pastries. Walk through the bakery section of almost any grocery store and you'll see cinnamon rolls, sweet buns, frosted breakfast loaves, chocolate-filled pastries, and many other tempting options. While these foods are often grouped with bread because of their appearance, nutritionally they tend to resemble desserts much more closely. Many of these items contain higher amounts of added sugar, refined flour, and fats compared with traditional breads. That combination can create the rich flavor and soft texture people enjoy, but it also means they're typically best viewed as occasional treats rather than daily staples. Food culture has always included special breads and pastries, from holiday breads to celebratory baked goods. Enjoying them occasionally can be part of a balanced lifestyle, especially when they're appreciated as treats rather than everyday necessities. Another area that often confuses shoppers today involves products marketed as healthier alternatives. Labels like gluten-free, grain-free, or low-carb can sometimes create the impression that a product automatically offers better nutrition. But in reality, many gluten-free breads are made from refined starches such as rice flour, potato starch, or tapioca starch. These ingredients can help recreate the soft texture of bread, but they don't always contain the same fiber or nutrient profile as whole grains. For individuals with conditions such as celiac disease or medically diagnosed gluten sensitivity, gluten-free foods are essential. However, for the general population, the presence of a gluten-free label doesn't necessarily mean the bread is more nutritious. This is where learning to glance at ingredient lists and fiber content can become helpful. Even a quick look at a package can reveal whether a bread is built primarily from whole grains, or whether it's largely composed of refined starches and additives. In many ways, the modern bread aisle reflects the larger conversation happening in nutrition today, balancing convenience with quality, tradition with innovation, and marketing with genuine nutritional value. For people over 60, these small, everyday decisions can quietly shape long-term dietary patterns. Choosing breads that contain more fiber, whole grains, and traditional preparation methods may contribute to meals that feel more satisfying and nourishing. But perhaps the most important idea is perspective. Bread itself isn't the enemy. It's been part of human diets for thousands of years across cultures around the world. The difference often lies in how it's made, how frequently it's eaten, and what other foods accompany it at the table. When meals include a variety of vegetables, proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains, bread can comfortably exist as one part of a broader balance pattern. As more people become curious about nutrition, digestion, and long-term wellness, conversations about simple everyday foods like bread are likely to continue evolving. And sometimes, understanding just a few small details about these familiar foods can make grocery shopping feel far less confusing. If you found this discussion interesting, feel free to like the video and share it with someone who enjoys learning about everyday nutrition. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What type of bread do you usually eat at home? Your experiences and habits often spark some of the most thoughtful conversations in this community. And in upcoming videos, we'll continue exploring other everyday foods that may influence health in ways many people never realize.